Hey everyone, it's Attorney Bianca Jordan here from brazenlegal.com, and I wanted to hop on here and do a quick video on the changes to the H-1B visa process. But before I get into all those changes, I want to do a quick overview on what the H-1B visa is so that you can understand what the changes are and how everything will be affected. So the H-1B visa is a non-immigrant visa that enables a foreign national to travel to the United States to work in a specialty occupation. And without going into a lot of detail as to exactly what that is, just know that at a minimum, it's a job that requires a U.S. bachelor's degree or a foreign equivalent. So each year, these visas are capped at $65,000 for the regular H-1B visa cap, and there are an additional $20,000 allocated for people that have master's degrees or higher. If you're granted an H-1B visa, you can come into the United States for 3 years, and you can also renew it one time, so for a maximum of 6 years in the United States. The process by which you would get an H-1B visa depends on whether your employer is subject to the cap or not. So an example of an employer that would be subject to the cap would be a tech company. So think Google, Facebook, Twitter. These are tech companies. These companies would be subject to the cap. An example of an employer that would not be subject to the cap would be an educational or research institution. For the purposes of this video, I'm really just going to focus on employers that are subject to the cap. So if your employer is subject to the cap, then USCIS will begin to accept your applications on April 1st of any given year. If there are more applications received than there are visas available to give, USCIS will conduct a lottery. There is almost always a lottery, and it's in your best interest to apply in the first 5 days of April 1st to make sure that your application is submitted in the lottery. And once the lottery has been conducted, USCIS notifies the public that the lottery has been done, and then they go on to process the applications. So the way that USCIS does the lotteries is first, they will select the 65,000 that are subject to the cap, like the regular H-1B visas, and then they'll move on and do the lottery for those that have master's degrees. So if you have a bachelor's degree and you're not selected in the first lottery for the regular H-1B visa cap, and you have a master's degree, you get a second bite at the apple, and so you have another chance to still get an H-1B visa. So once the lottery is conducted, USCIS lets the public know, and then they begin the process of returning the unselected packages back to the applicants. And as long as your application is complete and there aren't any issues, if you're ultimately granted an H-1B visa, you can begin to work for your employer on October 1st. So today, USCIS announced that it was changing the way in which it processes the applications for H-1B visas. So it's basically flipping the way it conducts the lottery. So instead of first focusing on the 65,000 capped regular applications, they're going to flip it and first pick the 20,000 master's degrees and then go on to the bachelor's degrees. So same thing, if you have a master's degree and you're not selected in the first lottery for the 20,000, in theory, you should still have a second bite at the apple in the lottery for the 65,000 with the regular capped H-1B visas. And USCIS says that it has to do this because it wants to ensure that U.S. employers have a greater chance of hiring foreign nationals that have a master's degree or higher. This final rule will be announced or published rather on January 31st, 2019, which is tomorrow. So you'll be able to read it for all the details. Another change to this final rule is that USCIS will be requiring an electronic registration system. So basically, employers will need to pre-register online before they can begin to submit applications for the H-1B visa. The electronic registration process is being suspended this year, so it is not going to go into effect on April 1st like the other change to the H-1B visa process is. The H-1B visa application can be complex, and it can take some time to prepare. So if you're thinking of hiring a foreign national, you want to start the process around February to make sure that you have enough time to meet the April 1st deadline. If you're interested in submitting an application for a foreign national that currently works for you in another status, such as maybe TPS or OPT, or if you're considering hiring a foreign national who doesn't currently work for you, I'd love to help. Visit brazenlegal.com to schedule a meeting. Thanks for watching.